All right, all right. It is my journey into legal blindness, my journal number 22. And we are luckily still looking at about 15 inches of visual vision for being able to read things and whatnot. Admittedly, if I push it too hard, I don't take the breaks that I should. It wanes a little bit. So, I got to make sure that I'm taking the breaks that I should when I should. One thing that's changed a little bit that I've noticed is driving down the road was where from I could get just a little bit of clarity on the center console there, and see the time every once in a while. But that doesn't. I've noticed that's not coming into focus anymore. So I really got to kind of lean in to get that. And it's not big letters. I mean, it's smaller, and so that little bit of a flicker here or there, it's pretty much not doing that now. So I just got to get in closer and to be able to read that. And then also I've noticed that the street signs, the big turn ahead signs and things like that, they're really not in view at all anymore. So I don't know what's up with that because again, 15 inches, the right size font. I can read that hasn't changed. So I think it's kind of odd that the ability to see a street sign, and it wasn't clear before, but I mean, just if I strained, I could kind of get to it. And I don't mean the name of a sign. I'm talking like the big yellow curve ahead signs. That's pretty much gone. And I'd noticed for the last few weeks that was getting harder and harder to get it to come into a focus, but we went did a trip to North Carolina, and yeah, that's it's just gone. It's not there. So I'm not sure why that would be gone, but the other wouldn't. But I'm gonna take my blessings where I can get them and go. Glad I can still see the 15 inches, and that hasn't changed. And just be mindful that I really need to start taking my breaks. I get into a rhythm, and honestly, I just forget. So I got to really get back. I got to be better about that. So jumping straight in. So this week I've got a few things to chit chat about in my journal. One is this iBill, and basically what this is, and for me at this point in my journey, I can generally make out if it's 20 or 100 or whatever. But I'm not going to say that, it's not a strain on my eyes, depending on if I can get it to the 15 inches or, whatever. And normally it's paper money. You can do that. But what this does, which is really, really cool, is if you slide a bill into it, it says out loud $20, $100, whatever the number is. And with the way the economy's gone, $100, now you can afford a coffee. Maybe. I'm kidding, but might not be as soon. So that's a really, really neat technology. I love that it's out there. I love that it works, because you wouldn't think about that, not knowing whether you've got a 20 in your hand or a 5 or 100. And I can normally, like I said, make it out. They make them pretty big. And I just pull them up to my face. But this is really nice to be able to slide it in there and boom, you know what it is. So that's really cool. And I've talked to quite a few people that are legally blind, and theirs, they can't make it out, period. So I'm lucky to be able to make it out if I take a second to focus on it. But for them that where you just can't, this is fabulous. And for me, this is fabulous because, again, gives me that reassurance that I grabbed the right thing. So that's pretty cool. So moving on and kind of moving through here a little bit. Going to talk this week. That was the upper left was the iBill, and I've got a bunch more technologies to talk about. I mean, I got the Braille note that we're going to talk about on another journal. I've got a lot to learn before I can get that thing running. Got the iPad, which you would think, it's just an iPad. No, it's so much more for me. And I really want to talk a lot about that. So I'm going to talk about that probably in another journal to come, because it's a real game changer. And got some other technologies too that we need to kind of talk through. So, at any rate, jumping straight down, this iBill's been pretty neat, very helpful. Got Braille measuring cups to help me continue to learn Braille, which is nice. Got the oven mitts that go all the way up to your elbow. You wouldn't think about that, but let me tell you, you got to grab something out the oven and it's sketchy. Like, it's really sketchy because the depth perception not being there. You don't know if you're sticking your arm down on the burner or down on the whatever the hot parts are, or if you're not. So it's really, really nice to be able to have longer oven mitts. Got that. Got a little metal piece that goes slides up almost like a ring, and there's a metal piece in front of your finger. So if you go to cut something, the knife would hit the metal and not cut your knuckles, which is pretty cool. So beyond that, I want to talk a little bit really quickly about the picture in the second picture in the upper area there. If you can make that out, I've got a picture of myself sitting on a couch with my Boston Terrier. My Boston Terrier's facial expression is not very happy. That was the night that time changed, and he was thoroughly unamused with the fact that I wasn't going to bed on the schedule. So dude's an old man, and he's a great emotional support dog, I'll tell you, while I'm going through this journey through legal blindness. But he is definitely a schedule-driven old man and has been forever. He's only like 2, and he's been old since the day we got him. But at 8:30 p.m. Eastern time, he believes it is time to go to bed, period. And he gets mad if you don't. So the time change really messed him up. He was not a happy camper, sitting up there on my shoulder, whining in my ear. And I asked him, I told him more accurately that it wasn't time to go to bed. And he shot me that look, and I was able to catch it on a camera. So that was pretty cool. Moving over in the upper 2 right-hand pictures, talked a little bit about this in my last journal. My buddy, he and also in the bottom left-hand pictures, my buddy did a fantastic thing for me. Really, really cool. I mean, really love that he did this. But I talked about maybe not camping anymore because of the just not being worth the squeeze. Because I talk all the time about, it's a matter of just doing things different. And it's true. It is a matter of doing things different. That said, getting clipped by camping line in the throat because you can't see it, and having a real hard time putting it up and taking it down just wasn't worth it for me the last time I went. So my buddy went out and found this highly reflective paracord. It's orange with these white reflectors that any light, man, it bounces off. And the pictures just don't do it justice. Any light bounces off these things and makes them like daylight. Contrast is fabulous. And then also the Crescent loops, which are the black loops that go over the orange line. So now you've got an orange nighttime reflective line with a black Crescent loop wrapped around it, which has also got a night white reflective line woven into it. Makes the contrast something that even I can see at this moment, which really, really cool of him to do. And then he even thought ahead and put hooks on the end. Instead of regular carabiners, he put these double hooks, these S with double hook latches that I can feel. And, when it was put together, I admittedly, initially was like, I don't know if I need to have the S hook on there so I can feel it easier. But I tried it out and at night, and my daytime, my vision is obviously not good. I'm legally blind. Nighttime, it's a joke. I mean, it's so much worse. So, any rate, I tried it out, and he was right, man. I could not see the S hook in the dark with my headlamp on. It just couldn't. But I could feel the two clasp. latches on it, and I was able to actually string the line without it being a huge hurdle for me. I'm not saying it was as easy as when I had visual acuity, when I was not visually impaired, but it was doable. And the juice might be worth the squeeze. So I'll talk more about this on a journal coming up shortly. But I'm gonna try camping again, and gonna see how it goes. Hopefully, it's not something to where it's not worth it, because I've done it all my life. I've loved to do it. We did the Appalachian Trail, not the whole trail by any means. We did little sections when we were younger, quite a bit. My buddy and I even got into a bit of a problem once, and this turned into I would say a fond memory. It definitely was scary at the time, but sketchy for certain. We got in, parked a car down the river, down a trail, and then came up and then parked a car at the other end, got in, and our plan was real simple. We were young, we were, in our teens, early 20s tops. But at any rate, we were going to jump in the river and float down the river several miles, and then come out at a trail, part of the trail. And so we didn't have to walk miles and miles and miles of trail. And also there were some parts that were kind of almost inaccessible, quite frankly. And at any rate, so we're going to do this, and it's going to be a week-long trip, basically. Well, we were young and stupid. And now I'm old and stupid, but we were young and dumb. So got in the river, and we're floating down the river. Everything's going okay. But in the first little while, started all these little tiny baby trout, I think they were all coming up and like trying to peck at us and all this stuff, and couldn't figure out why. And then realized it wasn't us. The bags that we had our food in, they weren't as waterproof as we thought. And so the food was dissolving and basically leaking into the river as we were floating down the river. So we were now miles down the stream, this creek, and no way to go back to the entry point. They couldn't do it. And so our only thing we could do is press forward, but we had no food whatsoever. Completely, all the food's gone. Several other things ended up getting ruined that we weren't planning either. So we went several days trying to hike our way out of there. And, I ate what I could find. So, I did river snake, muscadine grapes, carpenter ants, which, by the way, carpenter ants to this day, they taste like nerds. They are fabulous. So just letting you know, tear up some carpenter ants. But you name it, if we found it, cooked it and ate it. And that's how much I've always loved camping in the outdoors and things like that. And I don't even have as much of an affinity for it as my buddy does, but I do love it that much. And so it was kind of it was tough. I don't know if I'd call it heart-wrenching. I mean, it's not really the way I normally talk, but it was definitely tough when I was like, man, I don't know if I can camp anymore. I might have to give this up. So really cool that that's all been worked up with that highly reflective and all the thought in the contrast and whatnot. So I'm super looking forward to trying that out. And I'm really hoping that's going to make it where it's enjoyable again, and that it's not such a chore to do. So I'll talk more about that once we go. That'll be coming up here very, very shortly. So after that, in the bottom right, I've talked about we're working on a farm and trying to kind of get that set up, and we'll be building a house that I don't know if I've talked too much about this, but we will be building a house probably in 26 that's set up to help with visual acuity, a high contrast house, no stairs, things like that. Really looking forward to getting that built to where it's good for me as best as it can be with the legal blindness stuff. So we're working on prepping the land. And so our next step here is basically in the lower right. We've got some stakeouts, met with the power company and got the quotes on getting the power onto the land, because it's got to be underground. They don't fully cover it, so I got to come out of pocket, but it's not too terribly bad. I mean, it's not free, but it's not terribly bad. And just waiting on the electricians to give me their quotes for the meter boxes and stuff. So making progress there, which is awesome. Really looking forward to getting that power onto the land, because it kind of gives you that concrete feeling, moving forward. And then the building for the tractor is supposed to be going up here before the end of November. So definitely do some journaling on that. Really excited about that. And just really like the independence and freedom that I have on the land, because there's nobody out there but me. I mean, my wife, my spouse will sit there in the Jeep and basically she's on site, but I know where she's at, so I'm not gonna not gonna run her over. She's sitting in the Jeep. So it gives me a lot of freedom to go out there and work on it. It gives me a lot of pride that I can do that type of stuff still. Hoping my vision holds out to where I can keep working on that stuff, or I continue to find new ways to do old things, as I like to say. And a lot of this really to keep, keeping the spirits in the right place. A lot of this is about perspective, and a lot of this is about just where I'm at, keeping myself mentally. And a lot of this is just simply that. I am finding new ways to do old things. And, I'm hoping that the limitation of not being able to drive is really the only thing that I just cannot do. And that's, it is what it is. And there might be things over time where I'm not able, but for now, most things, I've found new ways to do old things. There are some things that just, for the effort, I'm not sure that it's worth it. So I don't generally, but most things we do it. So, really looking forward to the journaling over the next few weeks. Trying to keep a real positive attitude on things. It's, I'm not going to say it's all, all roses. It's not. But you know what? Every time I kind of hit that wall, and I have that negative, the devil creeping in essentially, into the thoughts, trying to pull you down, I always think back to that quote about, I was upset and this is not a perfect quote, but I was upset about not having shoes until I saw the guy without any feet. And I just remind myself that I am blessed, and God, Jesus, the Holy Ghost, here with me. And there are reasons for all things, and I don't have to understand them. So I don't have to try to understand them. What I do have to do is keep reminding myself how blessed I am and keep moving forward and try to do that with a smile on. And so that's pretty much what I'm doing. So overall, this week's been pretty good. Again, a couple of frustration points, around driving and navigation stuff with my spouse. It's tough when you've done all the driving your entire life and now you do no driving. But if that's my biggest, I wouldn't say complaint, if that's my biggest challenge to get myself past mentally in the last week, I'd say I'm in a pretty good place. So anyway, I hope everything's good with whoever's watching this. Till next time, peace out, Girl Scout.